Hi, thank you for joining me today. My name is Bryce Reeder, and today we're going to be discussing the Bonnet Carre Spillway Dam located in St. Charles Parish, Louisiana. The Bonnet Carre Spillway Dam is an emergency floodway control located in St. Charles Parish in southeastern Louisiana. The Bonnet Carre, French for square hat, was built between 1929 and 1931 as a means of flood control for surrounding communities. It's located about 13 miles west of New Orleans, and the spillway is designed to divert water from the Mississippi River to Lake Pontchartrain. Lake Pontchartrain is connected to the Gulf of Mexico through a series of waterways, and many marine species can be found inhabiting this lake. The spillway consists of a 1.5 mile long concrete dam along the east bank of the Mississippi River, and the spillway is a broad lowland that extends northeastward for about 6 miles to Lake Pontchartrain, and it's contained by a series of levees. The spillway is 6 miles long and contains 350 bays or weirs. Once the Mississippi River rises to about 12.5 feet above sea level at New Orleans, water begins to leak through the weirs and flow towards the lake. The weirs are operated by removing timbers with a series of mobile electric cranes mounted on a narrow gauge track and are closed by reversing the process. When fully open, the spillway can divert some 250,000 cubic feet of water per second. When the spillway is not in use, it remains closed. In addition to its flood damage reduction abilities, the nearly 8,000-acre spillway is the site of diverse and extensive recreational activities. Outside of flood season, the spillway attracts tens of thousands of people every year for fishing, crawfishing, hunting, dog training, camping, wildlife watching, and many other activities. The spillway reduces risk for New Orleans and other downstream communities during major flooding events on the Mississippi River. This risk reduction is accomplished by diverting a portion of floodwaters into Lake Pontchartrain and then into the Gulf of Mexico by bypassing New Orleans. In its 90-year existence, the spillway has been opened a total of 15 times. The spillway was opened 9 times from 1937 to 2008, but it's been opened 6 times from 2011 to 2020. This increase in use is indicative of a more frequent rainfall and flooding that takes place upstream along the Mississippi River. This is due to more frequent and damaging storm events across the Midwest. The Bonnet Carre Spillway consists of 2 basic components: a control structure along the east bank of the Mississippi River, and a spillway which conveys the diverted floodwaters to the lake. The control structure, or dam, is a mechanically controlled concrete dam which extends more than 1.5 miles parallel to the river. This spillway dam is important to me because of the flood mitigation that it offers to the surrounding area. Having lived in this region of Louisiana and having had my own home flooded, this kind of protection is critically important to me and many other residents of the surrounding area. The construction of the spillway dam was proposed in 1927 after a major flooding event. This tremendous flood was known as the Great Flood of 1927, and it flooded more than 26,000 square miles of land, killed up to 500 people, and drove more than 700,000 others from their homes. This demonstrated that even the largest and strongest levee system alone could not protect this area from flooding. Built in 1929 to 1931 by the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, the Bonnet Carre Spillway became part of the Federal Mississippi River and Tributaries Project, which is a flood control program for the Mississippi Basin to replace levee systems constructed during the 18th and 19th century. Since that time, the spillway has saved New Orleans from considerable flood damage during floods. While the spillway is designed to forestall flooding in New Orleans, operating it introduces more nutrient and sediment-rich fresh water into the brackish Lake Pontchartrain. Lengthy openings in 2019 were blamed for large algal blooms that closed beaches in Mississippi coastal communities, killed oysters in both Mississippi and Louisiana, and it was blamed for reduced shrimp catches at the time. The increase of nutrients, largely fertilizer runoff from the Midwest, often leads to harmful algal blooms that threaten the health of both human beings and animals, and the introduction of fresh water from the spillway to Lake Pontchartrain often displaces shrimp and other fisheries that prefer more brackish or salty habitats. In years when the diversion is open for months at a time, the effects on fisheries extend into the Mississippi Sound, Lake Borgne, Breton Sound, and other surrounding areas. Environmental groups are suing the Army Corps of Engineers over its alleged failure to consider the ecological impacts of repeatedly opening the Bonnet Carre Spillway. New Orleans-based advocate group Healthy Gulf and the national environmental group Defenders of Wildlife filed a federal lawsuit earlier in 2019 in the Southern District of Mississippi that says the Corps violated the Endangered Species Act by failing to consult with federal wildlife agencies about the harm of opening this spillway may cause to sea turtles, manatees, and other endangered or threatened marine species. The lawsuit says that pollutants in the diverted water cause algal blooms and create low oxygen dead zones in the Gulf of Mexico. This lawsuit seeks to compel the Corps to begin evaluating the spillway's impact on several protected species, including loggerhead turtles, leatherback turtles, green sea turtles, Kemp's Ridley turtles, the hawksbill sea turtle, piping plover and red-knot birds, West Indian manatees, and a Gulf species of the Atlantic sturgeon, as well as numerous other small native species like speckled trout, brown shrimp, white shrimp, flounder, and numerous other species. A federal lawsuit filed in December of 2019 by several Mississippi cities, counties, and groups also alleges environmental damage and that frequent openings of the Bonnet Carre Spillway Dam violates federal law. These legal cases are still ongoing. While this spillway can provide a lot of protection to surrounding communities, it can also be quite damaging to surrounding marine ecosystems. Does the benefit of this spillway dam outweigh the risk to the environment? That's what needs to be decided, and hopefully the Army Corps of Engineers will take into account these environmental impacts. The Bonnet Carre Spillway Dam has been around for over 90 years, and it will continue to be around for many, many more. It is critically important to understand the environmental impacts that opening this spillway can cause. Ultimately, I would like to see an alternative to this flood control, but until that happens, we need to do a better job of using the Bonnet Carre Spillway Dam more responsibly. Thank you for joining me today on this presentation about the Bonnet Carre Spillway Dam. Here are my references, source credits at the top with photo credits at the bottom. Have a great day.